platelet concentrates, are they really the magic bullets for regeneration? Now, in this presentation, we are going to find out the answer to this question. First of all, let us try to understand the history of platelet concentrates. Now, the platelet concentrates obviously were first used in hematology in the patients suffering from thrombocytopenia. So platelet concentrates, they were infused to treat thrombocytopenia. But the first application of PRP was done in open heart surgery in 80s. Then in 1998, Professor Marks used PRP for the reconstruction of the jaws in patient with carcinoma where the jaw reconstruction surgery was done. Now let us try to understand what platelets are exactly and what is their role. Platelets, also known as thrombocytes, they have their primary function of hemostasis. As you know that whenever there is any kind of injury, the platelet plug forms and it is the first step in the clotting mechanism. So after this, the whole cascade of clotting starts. Now, this is the structure of platelet. You can see the peripheral membrane of the platelet. It is basically for adhesion and aggregation. And the central sol gel area of the platelet contains various organelles. And you can see the dense bodies, alpha granules, and the lysosomal granules. They have most of the contents of the platelet, which are secreted when the platelets, they are activated. Now, if you come to the contents of these granules, the dense granules, alpha granules, and the lysosomal granules, you will see that the alpha granules, they contain fibrinogen, fibronectin, von Willebrand factor. These are very important in the clotting mechanism. Along with this, you can see the dense granules, they contain the serotonin and histamine. These are vasodilators, and whenever there is injury in any part of the body, these are secreted and they cause vasodilatation, because of which more and more blood comes and the healing process is initiated in that area. Now, we come to the clotting mechanism. For understanding the platelet concentrates, you have to know the basic physiology of the blood and the physiology of the clotting mechanisms. Now, there are two kinds of clotting mechanisms acting in our body, the intrinsic clotting pathway and the extrinsic clotting pathway. Now, the intrinsic clotting pathway, as the name indicates, intrinsic means everything that is inside the blood vessel. So, intrinsic clotting pathway is initiated whenever there is discontinuity in the epithelial lining, endothelial lining of the blood vessel, and it is activated with the activation of Hagman factor, the factor number 12. Now, after the factor Hagman factor is activated, there is a sequence of events, sequence of reactions that occur, which ultimately lead to a common clotting pathway. And in this common clotting pathway, there is conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin monomer. Now, this fibrin monomer then makes polymer, and this fibrin polymer, it is a mesh which contains the platelets, the other cells like lymphocytes, monocytes, polymorphonuclear cells, which initiate the healing process in that area with the secretion of various biologically active molecules in them. So this is the brief introduction about the clotting mechanisms. Now, this is the basic two most important functions of platelets. First is the hemostasis, and second is the immunity. Now, hemostasis, as I've already told you, that hemostasis is activated by the activation of the platelets, which make a platelet plug. And after the formation of the platelet plug, there is clotting mechanism initiated in that area, where various cells, they come into that area and they secrete their biologically active mediators, which start the healing process in that area. Now, this is well understood. The less highlighted part of platelet action is the immunity function, the immunological function of platelets. Platelets take a very active part in the direct and the indirect activation of the immune system by secreting various bioactive molecules which attract various immune cells in that area where there is any kind of infection. However, this part is not we are not going to cover it in the present discussion. Now, why we are concentrating the platelets? Because of the growth factors which are secreted by the platelets. Now, these are the growth factors which are secreted by the platelets. You can see that platelet-derived growth factor, platelet-derived epidermal growth factor, tissue growth factor, then we have platelet-derived angiogenetic factor, insulin-like growth factor, basic fibroblast growth factor, platelet factor 4, and many into RPM by 1000 is to 2. The RCF value, as you can see, that most of the machines, they have 33° or 40° angulation of the tube when they are doing centrifugation. So the RCF value for a tube which is inclined at an angle of 33° or 40° is different at the top and at the bottom. At the top, it is called as the RCF minimum. At the clot level, it is called as RCF clot. And at the bottom of the tube, it is called as RCF max. Now, why we are discussing all these three RCF values? This is because during 2000 to 2010, many articles, they were published with the particular G-force. And when they were compared, it was found that there is a lot of discrepancy in G-force. The discrepancy in the G-force was because different authors, they were measuring the G-force at different levels. Some of them at RCF minimum level, some of them they are RCF clot level, and some of them they were calculating at RCF max level. So how do we standardize this RCF value? Now, can we standardize the RCF clot value? No, we cannot, because the clot formation in a tube may vary according to the hemocrit of the patient. Only value that can be standardized is RCF max, because the end of the tube cannot be changed. So this is in the most of the articles today, we get the RCF value. So whenever you are reading an article on platelet concentrates, first of all, see what RCF value has been used in that article. Now you see this table. Now these studies, they were done in 2006. First study by Pinto and Curran to 2700 RPM. The RCF reported was 408. Now this RCF was at RCF clot level. Now then you have Chokarkon in 2006 at 2500 RPM. RCF reported was 280. Now this RCF was RCF minimum at the top of the tube. Then Dohan in 2006, 3000 RPM. RCF reported was 400. And this was RCF minimum at the top of the tube. So because of this discrepancy, it becomes difficult to identify that where the author has calculated the G-force. So RCF has been now very much clear that RCF maximum RCF max should be used as standard for doing the studies on platelet concentrates. Now, another concept in centrifugation is fixed angle and centrifugation and horizontal centrifugation. So most of the machines that we see today, they do centrifugation at a fixed angle of 33° or 40°. Now what happens when you're doing centrifugation, the G forces are acting on the lateral wall of the tube. So you will get this kind of a settlement of the cells laterally towards the outer surface of the tube. So why can't we simply make it horizontal and rotate in a horizontal direction? In this way, the cells, they will properly settle down in only one direction towards the end of the tube, and the work that we wanted to achieve, for example, 15 minutes in fixed angle centrifugation, we can get that in 10 minutes in horizontal centrifugation. This is a very good idea. But I have read some of the literature which says that this horizontal centrifugation creates vibrations in the tube which may affect the centrifugation. So this is presently a matter of discussion and research. Whenever this will be clarified, we will see. Now, as I've already told you, the physics of centrifugation, according to the specific gravity, specific density of that particular cells or particular particles, the settlement of these cells are there. For example, RBCs, they have 1100 gram per ml density. So they settle towards the bottom of the tube. Then we have neutrophil lymphocyte monocytes, which are present basically in the buffy coat. And then we have plasma, which is lightest and settles towards the top of the tube. Now let us try to compare the blood and the PRP composition. Blood contains almost 94% of RBCs, whereas platelet concentrates, they contain almost 94% of platelets. So these platelets are rich in growth factors that we want to utilize in our surgical area where we want to achieve regeneration. Now, let us try to understand what are the generations of platelet concentrates. Now, generations of platelet concentrates, they can be divided into two generations, first generation and the second generation. First generation platelet concentrates are basically PRP, where the blood is collected and some external additives are added in that blood. For example, calcium chloride or bovine thrombin, which initiate the clotting. You are manipulating the clotting mechanism in first generation platelet concentrates. The second generation platelet concentrates are PRF, platelet-rich fibrin, which was given by Chakrakorn in 2000. And here it is a complete pure biological formation where you do not anything from outside and do not hamper the clotting cascade. Now, since the introduction of PRF, there are many preparations like IPRF, TPRF, LPRF, PRGF, fibrin glue, etc., which have been introduced. And we will, in the upcoming slides, we will study about these preparations also. Now, let us try to understand the basic protocol for PRP preparation. Now, when you're preparing PRP, you have two centrifugation protocols. One is called as a hard spin and one is called as a soft spin. Hard spin, 3500 RPM for 15 minutes and soft spin, 2400 RPM for 10 minutes. Now, some authors, they say that hard spin should be used before the soft spin, and some say soft spin should be used before the hard spin. But this is the basic protocol where first we use the soft spin at 2400 RPM for 10 minutes. It separates the blood erythrocytes from the platelet poor plasma and the buffy coat. Now you take platelet poor plasma and the buffy coat in a separate test tube and you centrifugate it at 3500 RPM for 15 minutes. Now it separates the platelet poor plasma and platelet rich plasma. Now the platelet rich plasma can be used for our purposes. Now this is the recent classification of platelet rich plasma given by Dr. Arun Garg in his book. And it classifies the PRP into PRP liquid, PRP gel, PRP membrane, PRP exudate, PRP plug, gummy bone, and the heated proteins. And the respective RPM protocols and the timings have been given with them. Now, this video will demonstrate you a simple procedure how the PRP is obtained. Now, all the PRP kits, they come with their own packaging. They contain some tubes and some other equipments. First of all, you have to draw the blood from the patient's vein. After collecting the blood, you centrifugate these tubes in a centrifugation machine. And when the centrifugation is done, you can see the three different zones. The topmost is the platelet platelet poor plasma, then you have the buffy coat, and at the bottom you have the red blood cell zone. Now, with the help of a needle, you collect the topmost layer, that is platelet poor plasma. Now, this is the platelet poor plasma, which is collected in a separate syringe. Then you have the buffy coat and the layer which has most of the cells and growth factors. And you collect it in a separate syringe. This is platelet rich plasma. So at the end, you have two preparations, platelet poor plasma and platelet rich plasma. Now let us try to understand what is the difference between PRP, PRF and liquid preparations. Now PRP is the first generation platelet concentrate which utilizes external additives like bovine thrombin and calcium chloride. PRF is the second generation, as I've already told you, does not include anything from outside, and the normal clotting process is allowed to go ahead with. The liquid preparations, they are basically the modifications of PRF, where the centrifugation protocol, it is changed and the timing it is changed, and liquid preparations, they are basically used for preparation of products like sticky bone, where we want the platelet concentrates in the liquid form. Now, this is the difference between PRP and PRGF and PRF. You can see that the leukocyte content in the PRF is almost 65%, which is most. And secondly, the neoangiogenic potential is most in case of PRF. Then we have other properties in the PRF, which is very important. The property which is very important is mechanical property. We can use PRF and make its membranes to be used as barrier membranes. So these are the basic some differences between PRP, PRF and PRGF. Now this is the procedure how we make the PRF and PRF membranes. Now the first step in this process is phlebotomy. You take the blood from the vein of the patient. And then you go ahead with the centrifugation. In the meanwhile, you can take the bone graft, because this is basically what they are doing. They are trying to make sticky bone. So after the end of the 5-minute spin, you take 2 tubes out of it. And now you take the liquid preparation, that PRF concentrate, and then you can put it in the bone graft and mix it well with the bone graft. Now, after mixing with the bone graft, you leave it for a few minutes and it will set like a gel, like a membrane, which contains the bone graft as well as the platelet concentrates. You can use this membrane. This is called as sticky bone. You can fold this membrane according to your desired dimensions, whichever dimensions you want to make, you according to the defect which has to be filled. And then you can even cut it into two pieces so that you can easily place it in the area where the regeneration has to be achieved. Now this is the sticky bone which you can place in the defect. Now we are going to make the PRF membranes. So we take the tubes and we open them. We place them on a stand and leave them for 5 minutes so that the clotting can occur in the plasma. After 5 minutes, you take out these clots, and these are PRF membranes. You can remove the residual blood RBCs from the bottom of the clots like this. And now you can place this plate over these clots to make membranes. Now keep this weight on these membranes for some time, 10 to 15 minutes, and you'll see that after that, these clots, they will become 1 to 2 millimeter thick membranes. And these membranes now can be used over the bone grafts wherever you are attempting the regenerative procedures, and they will act like barrier membranes. You can fold these membranes to make them thicker. So these are the PRF membranes. Coming on to the newer formations in platelet concentrates. Concentrated growth factors, the CGFs. The concept of CGF was given by Sacco in 2006. Now, this protocol for this CGFs was 30 seconds acceleration. Then we have 2 minutes at 2700 RPM, 4 minutes at 200 RPM, 4 minutes at 2700 RPM, 3 minutes at 3000 RPM. Preparation contained more growth factors and the cells as compared to the earlier preparations. Then we have titanium prepared platelet-rich fibrin, TPRF. Denali introduced this product called as TPRF. The purpose for introducing this product was because the authors, they said that when the blood is centrifugated in the glass tubes, there is possibility of silica contamination into the final product, and it may harm the patient. So instead of using glass, why not to use the most biocompatible material, that is titanium? So they came up with the titanium tubes, and they said that the activation of the platelets in the titanium tubes were better than that as considered to the blood glass tubes. The centrifugation protocol was the same as that of LPRF, that is 2700 RPM at for 12 minutes. Now, another introduction by Chakraborty in 2014 was advanced PRF. Advanced PRF was basically a low RCF protocol product. Now, in this product, what he did, as compared to the standard centrifugation protocol, that is 2700 RPM for 12 minutes, they centrifugated the blood in of 1500 RPM for 14 minutes. Now, the was achieved with this preparation more in the cellular contents in terms of monocytes and lymphocytes. So the authors, they claim that this product has more cellular content as compared to the initial LPRF protocol. Then APRF plus protocol. In this, the protocol was again changed at 1300 RPM for 8 minutes. It was said that APRF plus demonstrated significantly higher total growth factors as compared to APRF. Then we have this comparison between LPRF and APRF protocols. Now, if you see this tube where the LPRF 2700 RPM for 12 minutes has been done, the cellular content tries to accumulate near the buffy coat. And in the low RCF protocol, that is APRF protocol, 1300 RPM for 8 minutes, you see that the cells, they are more evenly distributed throughout the tube. So they say that the cells, when as compared to the LPRF protocol, in APRF protocol, the cellular content is more and the growth factor release is more in APRF. Then we have the IPRF, injectable PRF protocol. Now these all, please remember one thing very clearly. When we are making the platelet concentrates, we use different kind of tubes, glass tubes, plastic tubes. So silica coated glass tubes, they are used when we need the clotted form of the concentrate. And plastic tubes, they are used when we want the liquid form of the concentrate. Now this injectable PRF, it was the preparation protocol for this PRF was 700 RPM for 3 to 4 minutes. That is, the RCF is reduced so that we get a liquid preparation, which is primarily used for making sticky bone. Then we have advanced fibrin glue. Now, advanced fibrin glue is basically used in medical field, and how we obtain it, we take almost 20 to 60 cc of blood of the patient. And in non-coated tubes, they are centrifugated at the rate of 2400 to 2700 RPM. And when after the centrifugation, 2 layers are achieved. The bottom layer is the red blood cell layer, and the top layer is the platelet concentrate layer, which we take out and we make, we can use it as a glue over the area where, for example, there is an ulcer, we can use it over there. Now, this is the summary of the centrifugation protocols for different kind of preparations that we have studied so far. For the PRP, 2400 RPM for 10 minutes, then 3500 RPM for 15 minutes. LPRF, 2700 RPM for 12 minutes. TPRF, same protocol, but titanium tubes. APRF, 1500 RPM for 14 minutes. APRF plus 1300 RPM for 8 minutes. And IPRF, 700 RPM for 3 to 4 minutes. Fibrin glue, 24 to 2700 RPM for 2 minutes, and CGF, concentrated growth factor, 24 to 2700 RPM for 2 minutes. Now, this is one of the cases that we did. One of my junior, Dr. Dilesh, did this case, and here the membrane has been used before closing the flap. Membrane has been used as a belly membrane, and coronally advanced flap has been done for recession coverage. Now, this was all about the recent research that has taken place. But can you remember all these protocols? So Dr. Miron has come up with very good protocols for remembering these centrifugation protocols so that you can make these platelet fibrin, the membranes, the plugs very easily. You have to remember only 2 things: 700 RCF for 8 minutes and 300 RCF for 5 minutes. So first, let us make standard platelet-rich fibrin. What we will do? Centrifuge at 700 RCF for 8 minutes in the red tubes. Remove the lid. Wait for 5 minutes for clotting. Now remove the clot from the blood from the tube, and this is your standard platelet-rich fibrin, which you can use, which is ready to be used. You can use it in thermal extraction area, socket preservation, etc. Then We have PRF membranes. The procedure I have already shown you in the video, but what is the protocol? Same protocol. 700 RCF for 8 minutes in the red tube, then open the lid and wait for 5 minutes for clotting. After 5 minutes, you take out the clots and you put it on a flat surface and put a plate on that, like I showed you in the video, so that they can get compressed. Go for the surgery, perform the surgery. It will take around 15 to 20 minutes to 30 minutes to complete the surgery. And when you're ready for placing these membranes, when you take out the plate, you'll see 1 to 2 millimeter thick PRF membranes, which can be used in the area where you are performing the surgery. They are basically used in GBR procedures. Then making PRF plugs. Similarly, as you make the membranes, you can make PRF plugs. How? Centrifugation at the 700 RCF for 8 minutes, same protocol. Remove the lid, wait for 5 minutes, wait for clot to form. Then instead of placing the clot on a flat surface, place it in a cylinder and put a piston on it with a little bit of weight. After 10 to 15 minutes, it will make a plug, PRF plug. This is basically used for socket preservation, where you are doing third molar extraction, or you are removing a tooth and you are going for socket preservation, etc. Then obtaining liquid PRF, the liquid preparation of the PRF. How you can obtain it? Centrifugate at 300 RCF for 5 minutes. This is a different protocol. Initial was 700 RCF for 8 minutes. This is 300 RCF for 5 minutes. Then after centrifugation, do not open the lid as it initiates the clotting process. Take a syringe and take the liquid out of it. Okay, after the liquid is out of it, remember to collect the bloody buffy coat along with a little bit of red cell layer, so that because it is rich in cells. And this liquid PRF is ready to be used for your purpose. Then you are for making biograft. Now this biograft is like making the membrane, but it is used basically in the medical field for the treatment of diabetic ulcers, which are big ulcers. So instead of, because what happens when you are making the platelet PRF membranes, they are small membranes. So what you do, you centrifugate the same protocol, centrifugate at 700 RCF for 8 minutes. And then you, without opening the lid, you take the PRF concentrate in the syringe and you put it in a custom tray of desired size. Put it in the tray and let it set for 15 minutes. After that, after clotting, this membrane is ready to be used. Then making sticky bone. As I have already shown you in the video, sticky bone preparation has the same protocol. Two kind of tubes are used, red tube and white or blue tubes are used. Same protocol, 700 RCF for 8 minutes. Remove the lids of the red tubes, wait for 5 minutes for clotting, remove the PRF clots from, make membranes, PRF membranes. Now these membranes, you have to take them in a bowl and you have to cut it. And then you put bone graft in that. Mix that well, and then in the remaining blue tubes, the PRF concentrate with the help of syringes and put that on the mixture of the PRF membrane and the bone graft, which you have already mixed in the bowl. This will give you a sticky bone. Now, it is a little bit of confusion. I'll show you videos regarding the preparation of this sticky bone. So first of all, you take the blood from the vein like this. And then after the clots are formed, take the clots. And then put some pressure to make membranes. After some time, you will see these PRF membranes. Now this is PRF exudate, which is not to be wasted, discarded. It is to be used while the preparation of the sticky bone. Now this is the PRF membrane, which is then cut into small pieces with the help of a scissor like this. Then you put the bone graft. And then you put, after mixing well, you put the liquid preparation of PRF. This is a sticky bone and it is ready to be used. Now making the CPRF. The CPRF given by Dr. Mehron recently, and the protocol is 2000 RCF for 8 minutes. Now you see that here the force is very high. 2000 RCF for 8 minutes. Why? Because the purpose is making a platelet concentrate where there is maximum cellular and growth factor content. What happens after the preparation, after the centrifugation? What you do? You take a needle, 18 gauge needle, and the upper 3 to 4 ml of the liquid PPP is discarded because it contains no cells or negligible number of cells. The remaining 1 to 1.5 ml of the remaining liquid is full of cells and growth factors. Now this liquid, this CPRF, is now ready to be used. Then there is newer preparation, albumin PRF and BioBone. Now, what is the basic purpose of guided tissue regeneration? The basic purpose of guided tissue regeneration is to place a membrane in a particular area which stops the ingress of the cells in that particular area so that regeneration can be achieved. What is the problem with PRF membranes? PRF membranes, they dissolve within 2 to 3 weeks. So we need the membrane to be there for at least 2 to 3 months. So to overcome this problem, now there is a new preparation that is called as the albumin PRF. Now how do we prepare this albumin PRF preparation? Simply, when you heat plasma, albumin precipitates, and from clear it will become white or creamish. So the protocol is exactly the same, 700 RCF for 8 minutes. Then using the 18 gauge needle, you aspirate 2 ml of plasma from the syringe, tubes, and cover that syringe with the blue cap so that the material does not seep out of the syringe. Then put it in a device called as the BioHeat device. After you put it in a device, then you leave it for 10 minutes at 70 degrees centigrade. Now, after 10 minutes, you will see that the albumin in the plasma, it will precipitate. It will become whitish in color. Now this, after 10 minutes, because it is very hot, you have to put it in another machine, that is BioCool machine, for 2 minutes so that it comes to normal temperature. Once cooled, now this albumin gel can be put in a custom tray of desired size. Then you are, with the help of a syringe from the other tubes, you are going to collect the CPRF. Now CPRF is put above the albumin layer, then you put the bone graft, and then again you put the CPRF and make BioBone. Now this preparation is called as BioBone. Allografts are most commonly used in the preparation of these BioBones. Now because albumin is present, so the resorption of this membrane is delayed. And that is our primary purpose of doing guided tissue regeneration or guided bone regeneration. Now this diagram, this picture shows the protocol for preparation of albumin PRF. Now first of all, you collect the blood, you centrifugate it. Then at 75 degrees centigrade for 10 minutes, you heat it. After heating, you will see that this syringe will become white. Now this is PRF, the liquid preparation. Join these both syringes, and then 10 times you push one on from one side and from the other side. So the concentrated PRF and the albumin PRF, they get mixed with each other, and then you get the membrane forms a durable membrane which can be not dissolve within 2 or 3 weeks, which still stay for a long time. Now, in this video, you will see how we are practically utilizing the sticky bone and the PRF membranes for implant case. This is a simple implant case where the extractions have been done and the implants have been placed. Now we are placing the sticky bone. After the sticky bone has been placed, we take the platelet PRF CG concentrated PRF preparation and we put it over the sticky bone. After few minutes, it is going to clot and it is going to give you a stable bone graft in that area. You'll see now we are reshaping the bone graft in that particular area. And after few minutes, you will see when it sets, there is no bone graft coming out in the gauze and it is appropriately set in that area. Now, when it is completely set, then you can put the PRF membranes like this. These are PRF membranes in place. And then you can suture it, and this is after healing. So this is how you are practically utilizing the bone grafts. Now let us come to the literature and discuss some articles, very important articles. Now this CPRF article was published by Dr. Richard Miron and his colleagues, and this is the article where he has clearly stated that the platelet concentrates, the CPRF concentrate that he has obtained after modifying the sanctification protocols, it has leukocytes over 10-fold in more amount as compared to the LPRF protocol. And they are harvesting only the 0.3 to 0.5 ml of the Buffy coat. And they are following the same protocol as that of LPRF. So this article was published by Dr. Richard Miron, and he's come up with this protocol of obtaining CPRF. Now we'll come to the scientific literature, the systematic reviews and the meta-analysis. This article, it tried to find out what is the difference in the biological and the physical properties of 3 different protocols for platelet concentrate preparation. That is leukocyte and platelet-rich fibrin, advanced platelet-rich fibrin, and advanced platelet-rich fibrin plus. Now, what the author stated, no statistically significant differences amongst the 3 PRF modifications could be observed, neither in the release of growth factors or the cellular content, nor the clot membrane dimensions. Means the authors are saying that there is no much difference between these 3 preparations. Okay, let us come to the second one. This is a systematic review, which says, which was done on the infrabony periodontal defects. It says, a significant positive effect of the adjunct of PRP was found for infrabony defects. Such an effect was magnified in studies in which GTR was not used. What he means to say, that in the areas we are not using GTR membrane, the application of the platelet concentrates is helpful, but not significantly helpful in areas where using GTR membrane. Secondly, no effect of the study was, no significant effect of platelet concentrates were found for gingival recession treatment for covering the recession areas. So recession, they have found no significant effect. But in case of intrabony defects, they have found significant results. This is another systematic review. In this, you can see that the authors have reported, this was basically for coronally advanced flap, application of platelet concentrates along with the coronally advanced flap. What they said, that PRF could exert additional effect to CAF, that is coronally advanced flap. The preferred treatment for gingival recession was considered. Based on the limited studies, it seemed that PRP failed to show any additional effect, and it was not suggested for gingival recession. That is, PRP was not suggested for gingival recession. Then this is a study from India, published in ISP journal. Apart from gain in the radiographic bone fill, all other periodontal clinical parameters showed negligible gains. Using PRF technologies in periodontal infrabony defects may not be of great clinical significance over and above the open flap debridement alone. Means this article says that there is no use of the platelet concentrates. Then we have another systematic review and meta-analysis which says in infrabony defects, it says that PRF was significantly effective in the treatment of periodontal intrabony defects. This is the basic outcome of this article. Then we have another article which says within the limits, the review suggests that PRP may be beneficial as an adjunct to bone graft material for the treatment of periodontal intrabony defects. Now, after studying all this literature and studying all these things about platelet concentrates, we see that all the systematic reviews and the meta-analysis, they are saying that there is a positive result associated with the intrabony defects. There are not much significant result with the resection coverage and procedures like that. So why we are studying all these things and why we are concentrating on the platelet concentrates? Now, there is a little bit thing I would like to tell you about how these became popular. The platelet concentrates, it has become a big market in the Western world. People now, unlike India, where there is negligible funding as far as the research is concerned from the government, in Western world, in developed countries, there is a lot of funding for the research from the government. Now, these people, they do research, and these researches, they are published in international journals, and we get benefited by that research. And the doctor who is publishing articles and again, he becomes popular and becomes a big doctor. Now, when he becomes a big doctor, big companies, they come to him. And big companies, they come with big money. And now the big doctor becomes a salesman for the companies. Now, most of the people who are lecturing on platelet concentrates in the Western world, they are endorsing one or the other company. Now, this biases the scenario towards the platelet concentrates. So what is my take-home message for all of you? First of all, platelet concentrates are very easy to be obtained and very easy to be used. If you know the basic physiology of the blood and the basic physiology of the clotting mechanism, you just need a simple centrifugation machine where you control the RPM and the timing. You can obtain platelet concentrates yourself in your clinic, in your practice, in your colleges, anywhere. This is a very simple procedure. Should be used whenever indicated. Wherever you think that platelet concentrates are going to help you, maybe in socket preservation, maybe in GVR procedure, maybe in sinus lifting procedure, you must use platelet concentrates because they are very easy to obtain and very easily applied. Using them in all kind of surgical procedures may not be advisable. Why? Because when you see the studies meta-analysis, they say that in recession coverage, there is limited evidence that the platelet concentrates, they are going to help you out. And finally, do not fall in the trap of the companies who are there to sell their PRF machines. So make your choice sensibly, choose your mentor sensibly, and then you decide how you are going to use your platelet concentrates. So this is the end of my lecture. Now I think, I hope that you are not as bored as she is. And thank you very much. Now we are open for the question answer session. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Nitin. It was a very, very enlightening lecture, and I hope that it has given some very useful insights to our participants. So now the session is open for question and answers. So please, whoever wants to ask the questions, they are invited. You can also type your questions in the chat box. So I would like to ask the question, Dr. Nitin. There are so many forms of PRF which have come up, like APRF, IPRF, so many are there. So which one is the best form of PRF to use for regeneration? Exactly what I want to ask is in intrabony defects or for defect regeneration.
Ma'am, actually different preparations of platelet concentrates, they are used for different type of applications. For example, when you are using when you are doing ridge augmentation, you need PRF membranes. When you are doing implants, where immediate implants are to be placed, then you are using sticky bone. So it depends upon the kind of procedure that you are going to do. So for example, if you are doing third molar extraction or any hopeless tooth extraction where you are planning implant, so what you do, you take that tooth out and you can use platelet plug in that area. So it depends upon what kind of procedure you are doing, so that when you are making that particular preparation, that should be suitable for that preparation. Otherwise, as far as the studies are concerned, I have already shown you a systematic review which says that growth factor release and other kind of bioactive molecules released from all the preparations, they are not statistically different from each other. They are all almost the same.
Okay. So why plastic tubes are used in the preparation of IPRF?
Yes,
that is a question from Tanya. Yeah.
That was I was telling you before also. So there are different kind of tubes used in different preparations. Some of them they are glass tubes, some of them they are plastic tube. It depends upon what kind of preparation do you want. You want the clotted preparation or you want the liquid preparation. Okay, if you want clotted preparation, silica coated tubes they are used. If you want the liquid preparations, then plastic coated tubes are used. However, it should be remembered that when you keep it steady for 15 to 20 minutes, the clot it is a natural process, the clot is going to form.
Okay, so next question is similar like Dr. Neetu. Can you please tell me the details about plastic, glass and titanium tube impacts on PRF? I think he has already told about plastic and glass, and now titanium tube impact she's asking.
Yes, titanium tubes, they are, Tenali introduced this procedure of using titanium tubes. Now, glass, according to the authors, they said that the glass tube, the sanctification process in the glass tubes may lead to the contamination of the silica in the clotted blood. So what happens? This contamination may harm the patient. So why not use the most biocompatible material? Along with this, they said that the titanium activates the platelets better than the glass. So this was the outcome of their study.
Okay. So next is, can you elaborate about the autologous fibrin glue and its uses?
Ma'am, autologous?
Fibrin glue.
Autologous fibrin glue. Okay. Now the protocol is same, 700 RCF for 8 minutes. You get two layers. One lower one is the RBC layer and upper one is the plasma layer. You take out the plasma layer and let it coagulate for some time. This product is called as the autologous fibrin glue. Now this is basically used in the medical field whenever you have diabetic ulcers and you want to cover that area along with the
poor plasma also. In periodontal surgeries, is it feasible? Like, what is the role of PPP?
Ma'am, platelet poor plasma is basically used for a newer product that is called as the albumin PRF. Now, platelet plasma contains, most of it has the content of albumin. So what you do, as I've already told you, when you're doing the GTR procedure, you need the membrane to stay there for 2 to 3 months. So what happens? The normal PRF membranes, they get dissolved within 2 to 3 weeks. So the albumin PRF membranes, they are used. How they are prepared? You take the platelet poor plasma and you put it in a bioheat machine for 10 minutes. When at 70 degree it is getting heated, the albumin will get precipitated. Now this precipitated albumin is put in a custom tray where whatever dimensions you want, and then you put the bone graft and the concentrated CPRF in that tray, and the resultant after 15 minutes you will see that it is all has clotted, and the resultant membrane has on one side the albumin PRF and on the other side the sticky bone. So this albumin takes time to resolve. So it can be used as a barrier membrane. So that is the use of poor plasma. In present
and
scenario.
One more question is there that which bone graft is most feasible to use with PRF? Is it like that, or we can use any bone graft with PRF, any kind of PRF?
Most of the studies, they say that you need to use allografts. Okay?
Allografts.
Graft, you can use any graft, there is no problem, but allografts, they are most efficacious as far as the literature is concerned.
Okay, fine. So any other questions, participants? So this lecture has been recorded and it will be available on Dr. Nitin's, I think, YouTube site, paleobasics.com. Am I right, Dr. Nitin?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
after a few days. So, so those who have missed anything from the lecture, they can certainly go through that, and it will be useful. It will be there. And I want to thank you, Dr. Nitin, for taking out your valuable time to give such a really useful and informative lecture. And it has really solved much of the queries about PRF, I think. And I think for the participants also, it was a very, very fruitful session. So on behalf of our dental...
Thank you very much for all your support and everything.
Yeah.
Students,
yeah,
they are studying hard, and you know, there is only one thing which can make you successful. That is only the hard work. There is nothing else.
Yeah, there is no substitute for hard work. And on behalf of the Department of Periodontology Grids, and I would like to thank you once again, Dr. Nitin. And I think we will wind up the session here. So thank you once again, Dr. Nitin.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, thanks a lot.